Welcome back, everybody. We are live from the Players, and we have got a very special doctor in the house today. We have got Dr. Terel Newton with us, and he's going to share some really cool things because this is something I find fascinating personally. He's the medical director at Total Pain Relief, and we're focusing on something called platelet-rich plasma, and you're using that for pain management. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we're very excited about having this treatment available to patients here in our area. Platelet-rich plasma is where you take a sample of the patient's blood, you concentrate the growth factors which are in the platelets, then you inject that to the area of injury. It really helps facilitate healing of a patient naturally. This treatment was actually once only available to elite athletes such as Kobe Bryant and Tiger Woods, but now it's available to patients like you and me.
We all suffer from some sort of pain, but being out here today on the golf course, this is probably pretty important for a lot of the golfers that are out here professionally and amateur. But so the process, walk through the process with me. So you actually pull the platelets from an individual.
Right, so the process starts where we draw a sample of the patient's blood. We put that in a specialized centrifuge that separates the red blood cells from the platelets. The platelets have concentrated growth factors, and then we inject that into the injured area. So that facilitates the healing process in a natural way.
And so is it safe? Is it a safe procedure?
Well, that's one of the things why we're so excited about offering this treatment, because it's much safer than surgery, it's safer than cortisone and steroid injections, and it's an alternative to addictive opiates and narcotics. The other reason why it's very safe is because it uses the patient's own blood cells, and so that eliminates the chances of any allergic reactions.
Ah, and so they're finding this is actually relieving pain, though.
The part where the pain relief comes in is because this is regenerating damaged joints, tendons, and ligaments. And when you regenerate that tissue, it helps the pain actually resolve. So some of the main benefits of PRP are the acceleration of the healing of the injury, it reduces the recovery time, and also it helps strengthen the tissue that was damaged.
And it helps most people, right? I mean, we were talking before the show, and what was it, like an 80% or 70%?
Yeah, one big part of selection is getting the right patients for the procedure. So we have about a 70 to 80% success rate.
And so who is your perfect client then?
Oh, definitely golfers, like Tiger Woods if he needs another PRP.
And a lot of people may not know that he actually did have that, supposedly,
yeah.
right?
It was around 2010, 2011. He had an injection, and he had very good results with it. Well, we also see it for other types of injuries, not only golfer's elbow, but tennis elbow, rotator cuff tears in the shoulder, other small joint injuries on the wrists and the elbows. So it's a service that's available to a lot of patients because there's a lot of chronic pain out there, and we want to offer this natural alternative to our patients.
And a lot of people are looking for a holistic way to actually treat pain, but this is actually something that it's a one and done procedure. So you just do it one time.
Yeah, most patients just need one injection. The recovery time is about 5 to 7 days. There's a little soreness, but as the process takes place and the healing regenerates the tissue, most patients recover from that. Some patients may need a second injection done about 2 months after the first one, but most patients do fine with just one injection.
And does female or male matter? Does that impact?
Age doesn't make a big difference. Sex doesn't make a big difference. Women respond equally as well as men.
That's good. Okay, and so what else? If anybody is thinking about the procedure out there, what would you say?
Well, if anybody's thinking about the procedure, I would recommend to come in for a consultation to our office there in Jacksonville. Our phone number is 1-800-55-MJ-DOC, MJ like Michael Jordan. They can also check our website to get more information. It's prpfla.com.
Thanks, Dr. Newton. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate you managing the pain for all of us out there.
Right, well,
Thanks so much. And we'd like to thank Total Pain Relief for sponsoring this segment. And for more information, call 1-800-55-MJ-DOC or visit prpfla.com.